Fantasy football is an activity that has become increasingly popular over the last 10 years. At its most basic, fantasy football is a game in which football fans use their knowledge of the sport to compete against each other in a format that relates to the actual performance of the professional football players and teams. Fantasy football is a great activity to do with friends and family who enjoy watching the NFL and football. It is just another way to make watching football more fun and exciting. If you are rooting for players on your fantasy team, they are going to be on all different NFL teams, and you will watch many of the different games on them each week. If you are a fan of the NFL, there is a good chance that you would enjoy fantasy football. In the most basic form, fantasy football is picking professional football players to your own team. As these players do good in their NFL games, they gain you points as you play against other people. The first thing you need to do to play fantasy football is to join a league. Get a group of your friends together and make a league or join one of the many different leagues available online. There are hundreds of different leagues available online, all of which are free to use. You have the opportunity to play against people from all over the world. Together as a league, you will draft players to your team. One at a time, members will select the players they want to have on their team. Usually running backs will go first, followed by quarterbacks and receivers. Depending on the type of league you play in and what players are available, draft picks can vary greatly. Each week, you will be matched up against another member of the league. You will pick the players you wish to start and leave others on your bench. In a normal league, 10 players will start for your team and up to 6 can sit on the bench. When your lineup is set, you can sit back and relax because the fate of your team is all up to your players' performance on Sunday. As your players gain yards and touchdowns on the field, your fantasy team gets points. Basic scoring breakdowns include 6 points for each rushing and receiving touchdown scored, while only 4 points for every passing touchdown. 1 point is awarded for every 10 yards gained by rushing or receiving and 25 yards passing. Field goals are worth different amounts of points based on how far they are, and extra points are worth 1 point. At the end of the week, the fantasy player whose team scored the most points wins the matchup for that week. The following week, you will be matched up against a new opponent. Over the course of the season, members of your league can make trades with one another. Depending on which players are performing well and which are not, trades can be made. Also, any player that is not on a team can be picked up by anyone. There are many different types of strategy involved in fantasy football. The longer you play, the better you will get. There are many different types of leagues you can choose to be part of. Depending on how many players you are playing with and how much football knowledge you have, you can determine which type of league is best for you. A basic league has 10 players. You can increase this number as you choose. However, the more people you have, the harder it will be. Point per reception leagues value wide receivers and tight ends more. For true fans, you can choose individual defensive players to your team along with offensive players. There are many different types of fantasy football leagues that give all different types of football fans a chance to play in. Contrary to popular belief, fantasy football first started in 1962. A businessman from Oakland named Wilfred Winkenbach was the first to play this game with his friends. Each player in his league would draft 20 different players of all different positions. Depending on the performance of their players, the men would win different amounts of money. For example, if a player scored a rushing touchdown, they would win 50 cents, or if a player scored a passing touchdown, they would get 25 cents. All of the different ways of scoring had different amounts associated with them on how much these men would win. This was the beginning of fantasy football as we know it today. Today, fantasy football has become extremely popular and has continued to grow in size. Modern leagues are available online at sites such as ESPN and Yahoo Sports. These sites make your league very easy since everything is online. All of the scoring is online and the site keeps track of the statistics throughout the game. Television has also greatly contributed to the growth of fantasy football. ESPN has several different shows on over the week where sports analysts predict who will do good and who won't. These shows provide real football knowledge combined with fantasy football knowledge. Also, TV shows are based on fantasy football as a whole. The League, a TV show on FX, is very popular. This show connects fantasy football and the NFL into a comedy that is fun for everyone to watch. Fantasy football is a game for sports fans. It is one additional way to get involved in the NFL and have a fun time testing your football knowledge and watching football games. It is a rather simple game that can be played by everyone. It is a great way to compete against friends and have a fun time. The popularity of fantasy football is only growing, and more people are becoming involved in it.